Is Tigard, Oregon a good place to live? Well, in this video, we're going to talk about the pros and the cons of living in Tigard, and all that starts now. Hey, what's up everybody? This is Paul Clem with the Home Team Brokers coming to you from Tigard, Oregon today. If this is your first time to the channel living in Oregon and you want to get more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. People reach out to us all the time who are relocating to the Portland metro area. We love to help with that process as real estate professionals. So if that's you, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link down below in the description of the video and schedule a Zoom call with us. Either way, we would love to help with your move to Oregon. All right, let's talk about Tigard. Tigard is a pretty quintessential suburban area for the most part. You do have some older neighborhoods, some newer neighborhoods, and everything in between. You have Highway 99, which runs directly through the heart of Tigard, so it kind of splits Tigard into two distinct areas, although I would say you get a lot of similarities whether you're on the south side of Highway 99 or the north side of Highway 99, and Highway 99 really is your major thoroughfare through Tigard. On the east side of Tigard you do have I-5, and on kind of the north side of Tigard you have 217, which is a freeway that connects I-5 to Highway 26. So in terms of overall accessibility, I mean, you're right there in the southwest part of the Portland metro area. You do have access to some major highways, but I've always considered Tigard to be a little bit buried. Unless you're right on 99, or if you're closer on the east side to I-5, or if you're closer to 217 where you can get like up into Beaverton a little bit easier, or over onto I-5, which can move along a little quicker. If you're not near those kind of major arteries, it can take you a lot longer to get out of Tigard and into places, say like Beaverton, or in particular Portland, downtown Portland, or really in any direction. So Tigard is bordered by Portland to the north, Beaverton to the north and to the east, north and to the west. You have Lake Oswego directly to the east. You have Tualatin to the south, and so you have accessibility into some surrounding suburbs, again, as well as getting up into downtown Portland. But Highway 99 in particular, you're hitting a lot of traffic lights, so it can get a little bit harder, take a little more time to get in and out of the area. But overall, I think Tigard has a lot of very desirable elements, and it's an area that really does check a lot of boxes for people. Now, this is an area, again, being suburban, it does tend to skew more toward a bit of a more family-oriented area. You do have larger homes, you have parks, you have a lot of schools. Again, you have a lot of these suburban elements that generally people with a family are flocking to. So that is something to keep in mind. I mean, if you're looking to be in an area with a little more energy, that's a little more upbeat, maybe has more bars, more clubs, more nightlife, a higher volume of restaurants, things like that, you probably would want to end up somewhere closer into Portland proper, closer into downtown Portland, or on the east side of Portland, like in southeast or northeast Portland. But Tigard is Oregon's 12th largest city. There's 53,000 people here. It has a landmass of 12 square miles. So Beaverton, just to the north, being another large suburb in the Portland metro area, is 20 square miles, and Beaverton's really big. Tigard's about half the size, but still a lot of area and a lot of diversity in the area. That's something that we'll talk about as far as different landscapes, different types of houses, different size of homes. But either way, Tigard is an area that tends to get on people's radar either right out of the gate if they're relocating to the Portland metro area, or after they've done some searching. Again, it is a little bit smaller, but you still have a ton of homes. It's primarily a completely residential area, again, aside from that Highway 99. And on the east side, you do have some industrial parks on 72nd, close to Interstate 5, and in an area called Durham. There are a lot of homes for sale here. There's a lot of great neighborhoods. In fact, there's 14 different neighborhoods in Tigard. So again, a very diverse makeup overall as far as what it offers. And again, in this video, we're going to be discussing the pros and the cons of living here. There's definitely a lot about Tigard that attracts people. There's definitely some things that can be a deterrent as well. So we're going to start with the pros. Number one on the list is the shopping and the overall accessibility to shopping. It might be the best per capita as far as suburbs go in the Portland metro area, because you have Washington Square on the north side of Tigard, which is kind of a big classic indoor mall, exactly what you would picture, you know, with the food court, and you get Santa Claus, around Christmas, and it's got all the typical standard stores, you know, your Macy's, your JCPenney's, all that stuff. So Washington Square is enormous, and I know I've talked about this in other videos, but you know, a lot of indoor malls like this around the country, a lot of big retail shopping places around the country have started to kind of go downhill a little bit, but Washington Square is always really busy. There's always new stores coming in there, and it's a really popular place to go shopping. So you have Washington Square on the north side, and then toward the south end, really kind of southeast end of Tigard, bordering up against really Tualatin and Lake Oswego, kind of where these areas converge right off I-5, you have Bridgeport Village, which is about 20 years old, 15, 20 years old. And it's a big outdoor or open air mall. It's not nearly as big as Washington Square. It has a lot more high-end retailers, but you have some great restaurants in there. Probably the best restaurants in Tigard, if you would consider that area to be Tigard proper, are probably right there in Bridgeport. There's one of the best movie theaters in the Portland metro area is right there. And again, a lot of great shopping. It's a great place to go hang out, even if you're not that into shopping. It's a cool place to go walk around. So between Washington Square and Bridgeport, kind of bookending, the borders of Tigard, again, I think you have some of the best retail shopping that you can get in the Portland metro area. And that's not something that a lot of people talk about, or something that you might find online or even necessarily notice if you're just looking at a map. But the other end of that too is Tigard has a ton of grocery stores per capita, everything from a Winco to your New Seasons and Whole Foods and things like that. You have a Trader Joe's nearby. In fact, I think there's 2 Trader Joe's that are very accessible, if not a Tigard address, very close to the boundaries of Tigard. But then you also have like your Fred Meyer's, like the local Kroger chain, and anything else that you would need as far as food goes. Tigard also has a Costco as well. So you have, again, Highway 99 running right through the middle of Tigard. And sort of right in the center of Tigard, you have a Costco, a Walmart, a Winco, and some other retail shopping in that area. All up and down 99, you have a ton of retail stores, retail shopping. There's pet stores and hardware stores, and again, really everything that you would need. So as far as accessibility locally to shopping, not just retail shopping, but everyday needs, groceries, home goods, etc. down the line, you really have everything you need. So I would say that's a big benefit of living in Tigard. All right, next on the list for pros of living in Tigard is the local convenience. So not just to the shopping, but to the surrounding suburbs surrounding Tigard, which really has so much to offer. Lake Oswego in particular, one of the best places to go hang out in all of the Portland metro area. Downtown Lake Oswego has some incredible restaurants, great places to walk around, see the water, see the lake. Has a little more of an upscale feel, so it's a really cool place to go grab a drink, go grab dinner, go grab ice cream at Salt and Straw or the Tillamook Creamery, whichever you prefer. But even the other areas surrounding Tigard, again, in particular Beaverton, which really has everything that you would need. Beaverton is a small city in and of itself, but connected to Portland on the east side of Beaverton. So, it's really an extension on the west side of Portland is Beaverton. And so Beaverton has a lot of great parks and places to go hang out and walk around. A really great Parks and Rec district that has classes and a lot of things to do, great libraries. So if you lived in Tigard, you would definitely be getting up into Beaverton quite a bit. And then you can also access Portland. Downtown Portland is on the west side of the river, so is Tigard. So if you go up Highway 99, turns into Barber Boulevard, go right down the hill, you're into downtown Portland. So if you live near 99, and if it's not a terrible time of day in terms of traffic, you can get into downtown Portland in probably about 15 minutes. So again, the accessibility is pretty good. I think if you're having to get too far out and too often, because there are some major thoroughfares in Tigard, but you know, to kind of wind in and out of, you know, the neighborhood that you might live in, and then hit these kind of main arteries that have a lot of stoplights in particular, traffic can get really backed up. So again, locally, the convenience to the immediate areas is great because, you know, you do have accessibility to a lot of different areas. You can mix it up. You don't have to just be in Tigard all the time. But if you're really looking to get out and explore Portland a lot, aside from getting into downtown, you know, if you want to get out further on the east side, for example, even up into like Northwest Portland, which is just on the north side of downtown, you know, it's going to be taking you a little bit longer to get out and explore those places. All right, next on the list for Tigard, you know, we talked about it. It's an area that a lot of families flock to. It's safe, it's quiet, it has some top-rated schools. So overall, I think Tigard is generally considered to be a great place to live. You know, you're in a major metro area, you're relatively close to a pretty urban setting in Portland proper, but you are removed enough to where it does have that suburban feel, but, you know, it's not very cookie cutter either. You definitely have different developments where, you know, all the houses kind of look the same and you have small lots. I mean, you get that anywhere in any type of suburban setting, but Tigard really does have a lot to offer. You know, again, it is a great place for families, and for that reason, a place that a lot of people end up flocking to. It does have a little bit of a smaller school district. For example, Beaverton to the north has an enormous school district. I think there's like 55 or 60 schools in the Beaverton school district. Tigard has a little bit smaller of a district. It does share the district with Tualatin, so it's Tigard Tualatin schools, but Tigard has one public high school, and then it has Westside Christian, a private high school. I believe that's it, and just a few middle schools, a handful of elementary schools that, you know, feed up into the middle schools and then into the high school. And so, you know, I would believe that having a school district that is a little bit on the smaller side is going to probably allow for a little more continuity and better communication year over year, and maybe perhaps a better overall experience for the students. And so again, you know, the schools are highly rated. It is a place where a lot of families flock to, and I think a big part of that is because Tigard is primarily totally residential. You know, again, getting outside of Highway 99 or that industrial area on the east side of Tigard, I mean, everywhere you go in Tigard, you're going through neighborhoods, you're going through areas with homes, and a lot of larger homes in particular on average across the board when you compare it to other areas in the Portland metro area. And we'll talk about the housing here in a minute. But overall, again, Tigard has a really laid back feel. It's a very clean, nice, quiet, peaceful area. And the crime rating across the board is about half of the national average. So, you know, this isn't an area with a ton of crime either. So I think it's a place where a lot of people feel safe. I think it's an area with a lot to offer overall when it comes to just your day-to-day life. And that's, you know, a big reason why people move here. All right, next on the list, and, you know, this is probably something we can say about any suburb in the metro area, but it's beautiful here. And Tigard is definitely unique in that it's really not laid out on a grid at all. It's really easy to get lost in Tigard because there's a lot of elevation changes and there's a lot of windy roads, and so that makes for a really unique landscape. There's a lot of different species of trees, in particular a lot of oak trees, like where I'm at here today in Dirksen Park. They have a little oak tree savanna. So it's very green, it's very wooded. Again, you get these neighborhoods that have a very unique makeup and a very unique aesthetic overall. And being an area that isn't quite as uniform, and having 14 different neighborhoods in Tigard, you get a lot of diversity too. So there's really not a lot of areas that people tend to stay away from or shy away from necessarily in Tigard. It just kind of depends on what your personal preferences are as far as what type of environment, what type of neighborhood that you want to live in. But most neighborhoods are going to have parks that are very close and very accessible, most notably Cook Park, which is one of the larger parks in the Portland metro area. You have the Tualatin River running through. There's a huge sports complex and, you know, a ton of soccer fields and baseball fields and things like that. It's really close to the high school. We're at Dirksen Park right here, another great park with little walking paths and trails throughout here. You have this outdoor covered area where you can come and, you know, do a birthday party or something like that. So I think Tigard has a lot to offer aesthetically. In particular, if you're moving to the Portland area for, you know, the green spaces, you know, the climate, the weather, a lot of the great things that people tend to enjoy about living here, you're really going to get that in high concentration in an area like Tigard. Okay, the next pro for living in Tigard, I would say, is the housing overall. Because it is such a residential place, you know, inventory is still pretty low across the board. It is somewhat of a seller's market still, but, you know, the housing stock here is strong. And so I think you're going to be able to find a lot of options here in Tigard. The median sale price is $611,000. So that's higher than the rest of the state and a lot of different areas in the Portland metro area, but the cost per square foot is $299. Compare that to $305 in Beaverton or $325 in Portland. So you're paying on average more for homes in Tigard, but you're getting more home for your dollar. And again, because this is such a residential, you know, suburban type area, you're probably moving here with the intention of getting a 4 or 5 bedroom home. So of course, these houses are going to be larger in terms of square footage, going to have more bedrooms on average than, you know, potentially other areas in the Portland metro area. But that price per square foot is something that I would definitely point out because, you know, being $299, again, although you may be paying slightly more on average for homes in Tigard, you're getting more home for your money. So that's a crucial point. All right, let's talk about the cons of living in Tigard. The first one on the list is the commuting. You know, we talked about how there is some relative convenience as far as accessibility to the immediate surrounding areas. So parts of Beaverton, parts of Lake Oswego, for example, down into Tualatin. But depending on where you live in Tigard, you're most likely going to be buried in a neighborhood where, you know, if you're getting out to some of the main streets in and out of the neighborhood, especially during the busier times of day, you know, the rush hour times, or even on the weekends, you know, you're going to be up against a lot of stop signs and stoplights, and traffic does tend to seem pretty heavy almost at all times, pretty much anywhere in Tigard. Now, again, if you can get to I-5, you know, you can bypass a lot of that. But even if you're right next to Highway 99 and you take that up into Portland, or if you're getting on 217 to get up into Beaverton, in particular, again, during rush hour, you're going to be up against some really heavy traffic. So if you're commuting anywhere from 5 to 10 miles outside of Tigard, you can probably count on a lot of time spent in the car. So, you know, hopefully you got some good podcasts that you like listening to, or, you know, you got some music you like listening to, or, you know, maybe take the time to catch up on some phone calls or something like that. Either way, again, you know, the placement on a map when you look at Tigard, you know, it does look not too far and relatively convenient. But if you are, you know, getting up into Hillsboro, or, you know, even getting up to Nike, you know, if you work at Nike, for example, even some of the back roads, if you don't have to take the major highways or freeways, during those rush hour times, traffic is going to get pretty backed up. So pull up Google Maps. If Tigard is a place that looks interesting and you're considering it, but, you know, especially depending on where your office might be, if you are, you know, commuting on a daily basis, plug in that address and look at the commute time and actually change the time to, you know, between like 4 and 6 p.m. or between maybe 8 and 10 p.m., for example, and get a feel for what that might really be like. Because, you know, the commutes can be tough, and in particular 99, I mean, notoriously backed up, notoriously bad traffic, really not just rush hour, but at all times of day. If you have to span the length of Highway 99 from like King City on the very southern, southwestern tip of Tigard, you know, up to the top of 99 where it turns into Southwest Portland, I mean, you know, that stretch might be 4 miles, 4.5 miles, maybe 5 miles, something like that. But, you know, if you're catching every light and if you're only driving 35 miles an hour, that can take a long time. All right, next on the list for cons of Tigard, it's kind of a sleepy area, honestly. I mean, there is a decent amount to do as far as just getting out, walking around the neighborhood, going to parks. You know, there's rec centers and things like that. I mean, there's definitely things to do, but you know, if you like fine dining, if you like to go out and check out different restaurants, if you like to go get a drink, I mean, there's really not too many places to go. Probably the worst per capita when it comes to any suburb in the Portland metro area. And again, it's not like it's non-existent. And again, it's not like you can't get up to Beaverton or over to Lake Oswego, for example, or even up into Portland to do some of these things. In fact, again, I know I mentioned that, you know, it can be hard to get in and out of Tigard depending on how far you're going, and especially during, you know, certain times of the day. But at the same time, the benefits of living here, you know, very well may justify, okay, you know, we got to spend 30 minutes in the car to get to a lot of these places. But if we go back to, you know, living in Tigard specifically, I mean, you know, there are some like fast food and some national chains, and there's some like smaller kind of casual local restaurants. And I mean, it's not like there aren't some great restaurants in the area, but Portland metro area, you know, nationally world renowned for its food scene. And, you know, Tigard is gonna come in, you know, pretty close to the bottom of that list as far as this area or this region overall. So it's not like you can't find it again, but it's not going to be in abundance. And that goes for going out and like getting a drink, or even, you know, going out to bars and things like that. You're going to get a couple of tap rooms. You're going to get a couple of breweries. You're going to get some options where you can go out and get a beer, something a lot of people like to do around here. But it's not something that, even like if you compare it to a Beaverton or a Lake Oswego that might have, you know, a couple dozen tap rooms, breweries, cool bars, you know, cool little restaurants, things like that. You just don't get that as much here. And if you're looking for any kind of nightlife, forget about it. I know I've talked about like Beaverton and other suburbs not really having much in the way of nightlife. I mean, really all of Portland, not the best city in the country for nightlife by any means, but obviously you get up into the city, you know, you can take an Uber into downtown. Traffic's going to be a little bit lighter in the evening, you know, so it's a little bit easier to get up there if you like to go out on the weekends and things like that. So it's not impossible, but you know, there's no clubs, there's no hip, popular bars in Tigard. You know, you're going to get maybe a couple dive bars and things like that. So especially for, you know, kind of the younger folks, the young professionals, singles, people without kids, you know, if you're looking for that kind of lifestyle, or if you're looking to engage in those things on a regular basis, Tigard might not be the most convenient place to live. All right, next and finally on the list for cons of not just living in Tigard, but considering Tigard as an option to move to is there's really not a ton of new development. There's not a ton of new construction. There are a good deal of homes built in the last 30 years, even 10 or 15 years, especially when you look at areas like Bull Mountain. And that's something that we probably should mention, because Bull Mountain is definitely considered to be one of the nicest neighborhoods in all of the Portland metro area. It's a really beautiful place. I mean, you have really large, beautiful homes. Again, a lot of newer construction and newer 10, 15, 20, 25 years, you know, so built somewhat recently. A lot of larger homes, a lot of homes that you would consider to be luxury. So you can get that even in some relative abundance in Tigard. But just like a lot of areas in the Portland metro area, the further you get away from downtown Portland, the newer the homes get. And a lot of Tigard city limits is relatively close in as far as different suburbs go in the Portland metro area. So, you know, kind of the furthest north in Tigard, you do get some 100-year-old homes. You do get some really old communities. You can get some 30s and 40s and 50s builds. There's quite a bit of mid-century, and probably the largest kind of contingent of homes in Tigard tend to be, you know, from about 1960 to 1980. This area was really developing at that time. And then again, a lot of the areas kind of bumping up furthest out, you know, bumping up into the urban growth boundary or into Tualatin, into Beaverton, you know, kind of further west, you do get some of that newer construction. So again, like Bull Mountain in particular, where you do get a lot of areas that are really still developing, but again, you're not going to get really much new construction at all. In fact, most of the new construction you're probably going to get in Tigard now is going to be like 1 acre lots, 2 acre lots, where, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 houses are being built, or just tear downs where there was a home on maybe a 1/4 acre, 1/3 acre lot. You know, they tear that down, maybe they'll build 2 or 3 houses there. So, you know, a lot of that, you know, with new construction is you're going to get lots that are much smaller than, you know, you used to get, you know, 50 plus years ago. So I think point being is Tigard is overall an older suburb and it's an older area. So newer areas, you tend to get a little bit better amenities with sidewalks and green spaces and parks and walking trails and things like that. And you don't get that as much in Tigard as you do in some other suburbs in the Portland metro area. And if you're looking for new construction, again, it's going to be harder to find here. Now, again, if you're looking for something built in the last 25 years, you can definitely find that, but you're going to find a lot of older homes overall. So overall, Tigard really has a lot to offer. You know, I think there are some elements or some things about Tigard that would, you know, kind of cause people to shy away a little bit, but you can get a lot of home for your money. You got everything you need right here. You're relatively close to Portland. So if you're looking for more of a suburban setting with a beautiful landscape and a lot to offer, a lot of diversity too, as far as the landscape and the different houses that you can get, Tigard would be a place worth considering. And if you are moving to the Portland metro area, you got to get in touch with us. Give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link down below in the description of the video. Schedule a Zoom call with us. We can talk about a game plan and get you off on the right track. And if this video is helpful, make sure to hit the like button. If you want to get more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. We really appreciate you watching, and until next time, we'll talk to you later.